And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into Second Down here on ESPN Radio. PJ Zuko, Camp Mercery here with you. Christian Gokel will hopefully be back here in the next 24 hours or so. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but he's probably tuning in. Most likely we'll be tuning in here at some point. But so we'll try and keep our best up for him. But Christian Gokel not feeling well today, so best wishes to him obviously, and we'll try and keep it solid here on Second Down for the next hour before we lead you into 3 and Out, and certainly looking forward to that. Of course, all presented by the Uniform Source here on Second Down, all across ESPN Radio, Savannah and Coastal Georgia, and of course Okefenokee as well. But Cam, plenty to talk about today, and I know we're looking forward to a lot. We had college basketball start last night, which was really exciting. I know both of us are kind of pumped to see the college basketball season get underway. I know one of our schools in college football is doing pretty well right now, so I'm really looking forward to college basketball season. Even though my school's not that great at basketball, but either way, it's a fresh start, right? It's a clean slate. My basketball team hasn't lost to Illinois yet, so hopefully that doesn't happen. So anyway, I know Georgia fans looking forward to the rest of the college football season, but hey, looking forward to college basketball. We had some big games there last night as well, all over the air as well. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Also, the NFL, you blink and we're all already kind of right there at midseason, and which is wild. I mean, you look forward to the Super Bowl and the playoffs for sure, and you got the holidays right around the corner. And wait a minute, we're halfway done with the NFL season. That's wild. So we'll talk about that a little bit, kind of go over some of our midseason awards and see what we think about where everyone is right now and what things look like for the end of the season, of course. But you're probably surprised we haven't mentioned it yet. College football playoff rankings came out last night once again, and at this point, feel like maybe they're even just ranking certain people. This is like, because everything's going to kind of work itself out to a certain extent by the end of the year. I don't know. This year's kind of crazy, so maybe that doesn't happen. But you feel like it'll all kind of work itself out, hopefully. You have 3 or 4 schools that are up for debate at the end of the year trying to get that last spot. But for the most part, I feel like with some of these rankings, man, sometimes they just throw stuff in there just kind of get us talking about it, which is wild. I don't know. Anyway, you look at the rankings. You got Georgia number 1, exactly where they should be. Alabama number 2, which is whatever. You got Oregon at number 3 over Ohio State, which they went out and beat on the field.
They're on the head-to-head.
Yeah, now you talk about those losses. Ohio State has 1 loss there to Oregon, of course, and Oregon has lost to 3-6 Stanford. So either way, though, the committee's saying, hey, they beat them on the field. They're number 3.
I agree.
Ohio State's number 4. You have Cincinnati moving up to, which is good. Like I love. You have a team lose in front of them.
I'm gonna get onto that in a second.
Yeah, you have a team lose in front of them, and I was waiting to see, are they just going to keep them at 6? Are they going to actually let them progress? They let them progress up to 5. Not quite in that number 4 realm, though. And then you get to 6 and 7, which is where this discussion is right now with a lot of people. Understand it's not an SEC team or anything like that, but you look at the ACC, hey, Texas A&M, you move up to ACC and SEC. Texas A&M, you move up to 11 after that big win over Auburn. Windsor Forest only falls to 12. So that interesting. Got a lot of love for NC State up there, 7-2 at 16. Auburn only falls to 17. So those are some of your other, Southern college football headlines. Oklahoma at 8, at 9-0 undefeated, but still at 8. So, that interesting, sure. But yeah, the conversation seems to be around 6 and 7. And with a lot of people, it's because 6, you have Michigan. 7, you have Michigan State. Of course, just like with Oregon and Ohio State, you have those 2 teams who have played each other. And Oregon won, they get number 3. Apparently, it's not that simple. Because with Michigan State, you won that game over Michigan. I don't care how you won it. You won it.
I've seen this coming.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put
they're down at number 7.
Yeah,
so.
I saw this coming. I talked to Kevin yesterday, and I said they're gonna have Michigan State fall 7 through 10. They could have slid worse, but I think they gave them the Alabama treatment. If you're gonna, slide Alabama from 1 to 4, you can slide Michigan State from 3 to 7 after losing to Purdue.
Yeah.
I think they got the same treatment. Also, it's about who can we set Ohio State up to get the marquee matchup. So essentially, Ohio State's going to play number 7 Michigan State next week if all things set itself out, which I think that will happen. And then you play number 6 Michigan. So you're setting yourself up for now what we call a weak schedule where Ohio State has played to. Now you have a beautiful resume. As far as Cincinnati, and I would say it, I don't know how the committee goes by this, but I would put Cincinnati ahead of Oregon and Ohio State.
Agreed.
Because of this. If Oregon could go out and lose to 3-6 Stanford and be number 3 in the country, but Cincinnati could beat 3-6 Tulsa, beat them. I didn't say lose, beat them. Why can they not get the same type of love that Oregon has got? Because Oregon beat Ohio State. Okay, Cincinnati beat number 9 Notre Dame. That's Notre Dame's only loss this year, and they beat them on the road. I know Oregon beat Ohio State on the road, but what as the committee, what are we judging things from? Do we want teams to win, or is it, you can win but have a slip up against a Stanford team? Stanford is not good.
Right.
They're really, really bad. They're 3-6.
This isn't the Stanford that's like top 30 teams.
Not Andrew Luck. Not that Stanford. This is one of the worst Stanford teams we've had in the past decade, if not the worst Stanford team. I'm just confused. Oklahoma at 8. Okay, what is Oklahoma supposed to do at this point? Because if you're looking at resumes, they've had a harder schedule than Ohio State. And I'm saying that I know Ohio State has played Oregon, but you lost to Oregon at home.
Yeah.
You played Penn State. Penn State fan, but they've been a shell of themselves. Yeah, they fell off lately. But tell me the difference in schedules between Oklahoma and Ohio State. Now, I know Oklahoma has a matchup against number 13 Baylor this upcoming week at Baylor. That'll help out. That'll catapult them in the rankings. And they have a matchup at the end of the season against number 10 Oklahoma State. I'm sure if they win those games, they'll be in the top 4 somehow, some way. I don't know what the committee is doing. I see themselves setting up Bama to, if Bama loses against Georgia by 3, Bama could drop from just 2 to 4. I could see that happening. It's a weird year, man.
Yeah.
It's a weird year. I'm not a fan of these rankings still.
Right.
I think Cincinnati deserves to be 3. I don't care if they're barely beating teams. They're still winning games.
Yeah.
They were Clemson. They would be in.
Yeah. And I think that's what's the amazing thing about these rankings is I love that you went to Cincinnati first, because what the amazing thing is with these rankings, you come out with the first week and then the second week comes out and everyone's focused on 6 and 7. But that doesn't change that Alabama's still number 2 and Cincinnati's all the way down to number 5 still. That doesn't change that Oklahoma's at number 8. And I understand they have a lot to work with in front of them, right? If they get a couple big ranked wins against Baylor and Oklahoma State and look really good in those wins, they could catapult themselves up, I think, pretty far on this list. That's been the problem with Oklahoma. It's weird, but it's how they've looked. It's the quote unquote eye test, even though now they have Caleb Williams at quarterback and looks like a completely different team to a certain extent. You still almost lost to Kansas. You still almost lost to Tulane, so you have all these one possession games that have stacked up, and now you only have 3 games to work with to change the committee's whole perspective on your team. And we'll see if Oklahoma is able to do that, or if they keep just barely winning, or if they fall in one of those games. So that really interesting to me for sure. Still having them down at number 8 and having Michigan and Michigan State ahead of them. Because I mean, honestly, I don't. Now that Michigan State has lost a game, I don't look at Michigan and Michigan State and I'm not blown away by. Now that they have really solid defenses. Michigan State has a really solid running game, of course, with Kenneth Walker and what he's able to do. But I mean, while I think Michigan State, and that's the weird thing, right? I think Michigan State, with what I've seen, is a better team than Michigan, even if you're just going by the eye test. Yeah. And then they have the win as well. So that's wild to me for sure. We'll see what Oklahoma is able to do. But yeah, that all doesn't take off the focus that, listen, like Alabama's still up there at number 2. And what happens if this all stays status quo and they just barely lose to Georgia and our 2-loss team? Do you drop them from 2 to 8? I think it's hard to do that.
It's some weird
in
things.
1 week.
It's some weird things that can happen.
They're gonna, if they get to that point, they're gonna have to beat Auburn, who's gonna be ranked. who's going to be ranked in the top 25 still when they play that game. So that's even more of a quote unquote resume booster for Alabama there at number 2. So that's wild.
There's some weird things that can happen. We could have a dynamic like this that can happen. Ohio State beats Michigan. Michigan State basically boots all of them out. Then Ohio State goes in the Big Ten championship. You lay an egg. Oregon goes to the Big Pac-12 championship. They lay an egg. Alabama loses. They lay an egg. There's all 2 lost teams. Then who do you catapult? Okay, you get Cincinnati in. That's obvious. Oklahoma.
It's obvious to us.
It's obvious to us.
I mean,
it might not
it better
happen.
be obvious to them.
I'm trying to make a dynamic to where, what if this stuff happens? Because this is the first time since we all been alive where it's a college football playoffs kind of like this. Every year we know at least 2 or 3 teams is locked in. We know Clemson. We know Alabama. They've always been there every single year since the playoffs started, outside of maybe 1 year for Bama, 1 year for Clemson. But getting back on track, I will say this. If you look at the rankings, I do think Oklahoma will lose a game or 2. I do think Notre Dame will lose another one at some point in time. Oklahoma State will lose another one. My thing is, if you look at the rankings, if Alabama loses to Georgia, Oregon loses in the Pac-12 championship in Oregon's, and Ohio State lays an egg in one of these games, and another team, then essentially you're forced to put in not 1, but 2 lost teams in the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
That could happen. I think they're setting themselves up in a bad standing because, in my case, you put Cincinnati at 3. I say have Bama at 2 because it still is Bama. That Texas A&M team, believe it or not, they look really good. I'm shocked. Ever since that Bama game, they've turned it around. They've just been killing teams. But outside of that, I'm not really confident. I don't know who Ohio State is. They haven't played anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't. Penn State was their best team, and y'all almost had them. Penn State almost had them.
I agree. Honestly, that Penn State defense, which is insane. The defense and Jahan Dotson are magic, man. They're amazing. But you hold Ohio State, who I've heard some analysts, people in higher regard than us, obviously, but I've heard them say they think they're the best offense in the country. And I'm like, you go back and look at the production they've been able to put out over the past 4 or 5 weeks before the Penn State and the Nebraska game. It was against Rutgers.
Okay, let me give you this past couple of weeks.
What?
Against Penn State, they give you 33. Penn State got the job done.
I think that was 4 straight field goals in the second half held by the defense when the offense just couldn't do it.
You guys got the job done in
that
game.
Down,
they played 3-6 Nebraska and only put up 26 points. It was
only won by 1 possession.
Only won by 1 possession. It was 23-17 at one point. They got a late field goal with 1 minute and 29 seconds left to make it 26-17. So my thing that I'm getting at is, and this is what I don't like about the college football playoffs. Did you not notice something? So Purdue went from unranked to number 19 now. So now Ohio State has 3 games left against 19 Purdue, number 7 Michigan State, and number 6 Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
They have set it up to where if Ohio State wins, they not only stay in the top 4, but if they win those 3 games in a row, they jump Alabama. Nobody has realized that. Nobody has recognized that. You could say, okay, Ohio State lost to Oregon, who's number 3. And Alabama lost to Texas A&M, who's number 11. Ohio State has 3 straight ranked games. If they win all 3 of those games, they're gonna jump Alabama and be number 2.
Go all the way up to number 2. I can see that happen.
It's crazy. I see them being slick in the college football playoffs.
Oh, for sure. I was saying the same thing. And that's why I think I maybe corrupted your mind a little bit with the whole Ohio State talk being just things getting set up for them, right? I don't know. But I was saying the same thing with the SEC there last week.
I would love chaos.
How are we going to fill out 15 to 25 and just throw in a bunch of SEC?
Throw them a bunch of SEC, Big Ten, because if you look at 15 through 25, it's all Big 12, SEC. I see about 2 SEC teams, 3 Big Ten teams, all from 10 to 20 range. So it's still set. And then Ohio State is more likely going to play number 18 or number 20 Iowa in the or Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
it's set up beautifully.
It was
not a fan of the rankings.
I mean, before that, it was set up for Minnesota. Not set up, but Minnesota had their butt in the driver's seat for the Big Ten West. and then they go out and drop an egg, like they do. So, I mean, that's a team. Again, Minnesota, you look, I think pretty sure Minnesota was ranked number 20 last week. They're nowhere to be found because they laid an egg. And teams like that are going to do that, especially when you rank them in the top 25 when they're not supposed to be there. I mean, they lost to Bowling Green earlier this year, and or like, yeah, why not just put them in the top 25 last week? That's wild. But
the thing that I'm happy about is Georgia is number 1, and we haven't said nothing about them because they're clearly the best team, clear in the way the best team in the country. Do I think they have holes? They have a lot of holes, but they're clearly the best team in the country.
Right. Could not agree more. And just actually, I'm sure posted by Christian a couple hours ago on ESPN Coastal's Instagram. Per Kirby Smart, George Pickens is taking reps with the scout team there with Georgia, and there's still no time frame for his return. So George Pickens, now no timetable for his return. Obviously a tough injury there last year at the end of the year, or in the offseason. But man, if you can add that guy, if you can add Pickens late in the season, even if it's just for the college football playoff run, if you make it, which they're going to make it. But, I mean, even if you just add him for that, this offense goes to a whole nother level, I think. Yep. I mean, goodness gracious.
I agree.
It's a possibility. Not saying it's going to happen. It's a possibility.
It's a possibility. I agree. But, we're well over, so we'll be right back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we are well over. We'll be right back. We're talking mid-season NFL awards next?
Yeah. Why not, man? Like you said, you blink your eye and you're here in the middle of the season here in the NFL. So I know there's been a lot of movement, a lot of things happened over the past couple of weeks, but yeah, why not? Let's take a look at the NFL and do some of these awards.
Okay. We'll be right back right after this.
And welcome back. Second down here on ESPN Radio, all presented by the Uniform Source. PJ Zuko, Cam Ussery here with you. Christian Gokel out for today. Hopefully he'll be back in and feeling better than ever tomorrow. A little under the weather, but again, hopefully he'll be right back with us there tomorrow. But again, a lot to talk about today, and you just get through the season. You start trudging through some of these games in the NFL, right? Your team's out to a hot start, or they stumble through the first couple weeks, whatever. You kind of lose track of where you're at, and boom, we're here at midseason, staring down the barrel of the second half of the season, and teams fighting for playoff spots and everything like that. So with that, celebrate it a little bit with some mid-season awards for us here on the show, and plenty to go up and look at. Probably going to go through most of them here on the show, and not every single one.
With these awards mid-season, let's just start from the least interesting to the most. So we'll do MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year last, but let's start off Coach of the Year. Yeah, comeback. I
like that.
Let's
build it up.
Yeah, let's build it up.
Which is funny because like Coach of the Year is kind of like most valuable player for the coaches, but like the coaches, man, they give us all the coach speak and the interviews, all that other kind of stuff. So it's not insanely exciting. But yeah, let's start with that. You want to start with your Coach of the Year?
No, I want to hear yours first.
I mean, you said during the break it'd be kind of it's a little,
I want to hear your first because I'm still sitting on it. I'm still trying to resonate. It's between two coaches.
Right.
One will kind of tick people off, but it's between two coaches right now. I want to hear yours first, though.
I got you. No problem. There's a lot of eligible coaches obviously out there for that. It's coaches that have been impressive, done some great things over the course of this year, and some coaches who aren't working with a ton and are getting a lot out of their teams, I think, and doing a great job with that. But I'm going to go with one that I think a lot of people would be like, but look at the players he's got, all this other stuff. I would go with Cliff Kingsbury right now with the Cardinals. And you have that team still sitting with one loss, right? With the Cardinals playing extremely well. Yes, you have the additions of DeAndre Hopkins there with the Cardinals. You have A.J. Green there with the Cardinals as well. J.J. Watt on the defense for 6 or 7 games before he gets hurt, of course, because that's what J.J. Watt does. But yeah, Chandler Jones, a lot of extremely good players coming. This is why, though. He's handpicked his quarterback, right? From the beginning, handpicked his quarterback to go all the way with and build into the quarterback that he wanted in his system. And Kyler Murray has been insanely impressive in that. But there is a level of coaching that has to go into that. There's also a level of coaching that comes with having all these players that have, not all of them are superstars that are going to be in the limelight all the time and want the attention that kind of cause problems, right? But you still have to meld those egos together and form it into a functioning machine to start. You can't just ride talent to a one-loss record there in the middle of the year. Now, we'll see where it is at the end of the year and, of course, how they do in the playoffs. But right now, with how he's been able to kind of manage all of those things and even go through injuries and put this team as one of the teams to beat, if not the team to beat in the NFC, I think he's doing a really impressive job right now.
I can't argue that. I'm in a 3-way tie. I'll take out Bill Belichick because he is Belichick, but I have a co-coach of the year mid-season. I have one in the AFC, one in the NFC. I'll start with the AFC. It has to be Zach Taylor with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
It has to be. There's nobody on this planet that could sit here and tell me Cincinnati at 2 weeks ago would have been 5-2, and right now been 5-4. Joe Burrow, he looks really, really good. Jamar Chase, he's a top, as of right now, performance-wise, he's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Nobody really expected this out of Cincinnati. I didn't. I know you didn't.
I expected them to be high flying and throwing it all over the place,
but not this good. They're a playoff team. Exactly. As of right now, they're 5-4. They're third in their division because they just took a hard loss to the Cleveland Browns, but they're definitely ahead of schedule. Last year, they only had 2-3 wins. This year, they have 5. They've already doubled their win total from last year. Zach Taylor will be one of my coaches of the year, but I have to say this. Arthur Smith from the Atlanta Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that because I know I'm going to get a lot of flag if Christian's watching this. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Last year, the Atlanta Falcons were 4-12. That's why they were able to get the number 4 pick, able to get Kyle Pitts. They still had Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett, and AJ Terrell, all at 4-12. They still had that exact team. This year, they are missing Julio Jones. They are missing Calvin Ridley. They've missed Russell Gage for most of the season. Deion Jones has not been himself. And AJ Terrell has turned himself into a top 10, top 5 performance-wise corner. And Grady Jarrett is still Grady Jarrett.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan is 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the season. Arthur Smith has now matched that win total from last year in just 8 games as a rookie head coach. He's 2 games away from being 6-2. You blow a game against Washington, you blow a game against Carolina, you're 6-2. Matt Ryan throws 2 pick sixes against Tampa, you might be 7-1. My thing is, Arthur Smith, he has come in. Is the Atlanta Falcons a perfect team? No. Will they make the playoffs? I don't think so. But what I will say is they'll have more than four wins by the end of the year. They might finish with 8-9 wins. They look like a team that's trying to set an identity, trying to find a foundation within the organization. It's just the simple fact they don't have the players to do so right now. But I love the direction they're going in. Arthur Smith, Zach Taylor, those are my 2 coaches of the year.
I don't blame you at all for that. And if we were sitting here 2 or 3 weeks ago, then I would say, all right, that's a little bit of homerism there. But no, I mean, with what they've been able to do and how they've been able to come back from early in the season, and listen, they could have very well kind of buried it there early in the season and say we're off to a rough start. Like you said, kind of giving away a couple games and like, here we go again. Everyone's seen that meme. Crap, here we go again, right? Well, they didn't. They've been fighting their way through it. Like you said, AJ Terrell has been insanely impressive, the development he's been able to go through. And I don't blame you very much. But at the same time, you kind of take away Bill Belichick there because he's Bill Belichick, but he has been doing a very impressive job.
He's been doing his
Patriots,
thing.
so,
but I got to take away Bill, though.
Like to mention there for sure. But I don't blame you at all for that. So we got through the coach of the year. Where do you want to go next?
I know we got to be quick because we're against time just a little bit, but comeback. We could do comeback player of the year and rookie of the year. Okay,
sounds good. Yeah, sounds good to me. I think comeback player of the year is mainly between guys, and I think both are doing very impressive things. I kind of, just because of what he's working with, and we just talked about him, but what Joe Burrow is doing Absolutely. Is remarkable for sure. And obviously you're dealing with young wide receivers. Yeah, albeit Jamar Chase, you did play with him in college. Yeah, obviously already have that chemistry, but it's different in the NFL. You're running from your life, for your life every single week with that offensive line. So I think that has been great. But it's hard to watch Dak Prescott and not say that he is the comeback player of the year. So I'll give it to Dak Prescott. Obviously that defense improved, helping them a lot. You got some playmakers around him as well. But I seem like it's weird. I just said Joe Burrow's running for his life all the time. I feel like Dak Prescott all the time when I'm watching Cowboys game, and I'm like, man, if not for him, where would they be at right now? So like, give me Prescott for the comeback player of the year so far.
Give me Joe Burrow. Okay. And I got a quick stat, and then we'll move forward. Everybody praises Patrick Mahomes because of how good of a quarterback he is. Right now, Patrick Mahomes, 2,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 10 picks. Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, 5-4. Joe Burrow with less weapons. I don't see a Tyreek Hill. I don't see a Travis Kelce. I don't see an Andy Reid out there with a Tyrann Mathieu on defense. I don't see none of that. Joe Burrow, 2,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 10 picks, 5-4. They're on the same level, the same pace right now this year. One is being talked about more, one isn't. I would normally go with Dak Prescott because he is having a better season, more success. I just feel like Dak has more to work with. He has just a slew of wide receivers.
Agreed.
Ezekiel Elliott, Pollard's came on, a pretty decent head coach, a Super Bowl head coach at that. So and Patrick Mahomes, he has a Super Bowl head coach. Joe Burrow, he has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, the rookie out. Well, I wouldn't say the rookie, but second year player out of Clemson, and that's pretty much it. Joe Mixon's he's a nice running back. He's nice, but I have to go Joe Burrow, man. He's having a really good year. I'm shocked.
Well, like I said, I can't blame you at all. To me, it was a toss-up, so I'm right there with you. Completely understand that. Like you said, let's move ahead here to Rookie of the Year, and I will say if you want to do two, if you want to do offensive and defensive, I'm totally down with that. Like you said, got to kind of hurry through time here. But at the end of the day, I think if we're doing offensive and defensive, my defensive is easy. It's Micah Parsons. I mean,
I think we could both agree on that.
Every game he's just demolishing people and coming up with turnovers. And
linebacker
things like that.
transitioned into a DN.
Yeah,
during this year,
kind of that upstanding defensive end and that kind of 3-4 type. So yeah, I'm right there with you there. Happy we agree on that for sure. Offensive rookie of the year, I'm gonna go with Jamar Chase, and I know there's some other options out there. I know Mac Jones is having a really solid year for the Patriots and kind of what Bill Belichick is able to mold him into. But every time I look up, Jamar Chase is scoring an insane touchdown. I look at his stat line kind of every week, and it's like 80-something yards, 90-something yards, and a touchdown or two. What he's doing with Joe Burrow right now is pretty remarkable. Obviously, you have the couple losses there. And they're kind of going through a tough part of the season. We'll see if they can come out of it. But I think I would still go with Jamar Chase on offensive rookie of the year so far.
I got to agree with you on that. He's third in the NFL in receiving yards, fourth in receiving touchdowns. He's basically the number one as a rookie, and he's looking like a top five. He is a top 5 wide receiver right now. Let me correct myself. I know we love Julio Jones and all these guys. You know, I think when healthy, Julio, I'm always going to pick Julio, but if we're talking about right now, everybody's healthy in their own certain health state, it's Jamar Chase. He's top 5 in pretty much every category. Just a few weeks ago against Baltimore, who I consider a top 10 team in the NFL, he had 10 catches, 201 yards, and a touchdown. Green Bay, who I think is the number 2 team in the NFL, he had 10 catches, 159 yards, and a touchdown. The kid is special. He's really good. Just this past week, against Cleveland in a bad day, 6 catches, 50 yards. He's really good. He shocked me. Justin Jefferson was all world his rookie year. He's about to just shatter Jefferson's rookie record for receiving yards and catches. So I think we could agree on Jamar Chase. Everything is advertised. I see why Cincinnati picked him over Devontae Smith.
Yeah, absolutely.
No knock against Devontae Smith having a solid season as well.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing them both really thrive in their roles and with their offenses. So I'm kind of right there with you. All right, we go to the last and final one, the biggest one, obviously, and the one that might be kind of the most wide open right now. I feel like there's a lot of awards like this. If you look at sports, there's a lot of parity, and I don't feel like there's one guy at the top, right, who's just clearing away, forming his. You look at Heisman race. Heisman race is all up in the air right now too. MVP, most valuable player in the NFL. What do you think?
I'm gonna let you go first,
man.
I'm gonna let you go first.
See, that's the thing. I'm still debating in my head as well. I think there's so many guys you can go with. There's some off the cuff guys that some people might not agree with because they're not as big of a name. And then there's of course the big names and everything like that. I want to throw out there, by the way, and I know he's got a good defense to play with too, but I've been riding for Matt Stafford for years in Detroit. And I've been told by a lot of people that he's just collecting stats and whatever, and he's not that great of a quarterback, blah, blah, blah.
Matt Stafford's top 10 in passing touchdowns all time.
He is building he is building himself an MVP resumes right now in Los Angeles with the Rams. And I think just you fill that one hole with the Rams and boom, they're automatically a great team. Now, I'll say that, and I'll actually, this is tough because like you can go Aaron Rodgers, you can go, of course, the classic Tom Brady.
I have mine.
If I'm going mid-season, I think I'll go back to a team that I talked a little bit earlier. I know he has weapons around him, but Kyler Murray is balling right now. Okay. He's balling. He's all over the place. Like I said, there's a ton of guys at the top that you could go with. No one is a clear front runner, but right now, and I think moving forward, I think he might make some insane plays and have some insane games that kind of separates himself and wins himself an MVP.
No doubt. Can't argue that. You could argue for Brady, Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, Stafford. You could argue for all those guys, but I'm going to go a little bit different. If we're talking about mid-season right now,
okay,
Trevon Diggs for the Dallas Cowboys.
Dang.
He's the MVP this year. Okay. This kid is on pace to break the interception record I think held by Night Train Lane.
I kind of want to change my answer because like I like riding for like the off pick because everyone always goes with a quarterback.
I'm riding for the off pick. I was going to say Stafford,
dude,
but they have played 8 games. The Dallas Cowboys are 6-2. In those 8 games, he has 29 tackles, 7 interceptions.
Yeah,
I think 2 pick sixes. He's the MVP right now in midseason form for me because
I like it
as a corner to be that exceptional in your second year when they're throwing the ball to him.
Yeah,
because they were trying to pick on him because he was picked on a little bit his rookie year. He was picked on in college. If you saw Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson give him the business at Alabama, he was picked on. But this year, he has been nothing but lockdown. I still put Jalen Ramsey as the best corner, but as far as defensive player of the year, it's Trayvon Diggs cannot play the rest of the year this year. I will have him as my defensive player of the year. 7 picks, that's what you get in a season. He has that in half a season. He has his team sitting at 6-2. He is the big reason why his team is at 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
When Cooper Rush played against the Vikings a few nights ago, who got the pick 6 to elevate that game?
Of course,
it was Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
So every game you're seeing this kid get an interception or a pick 6. He averages 0.9 picks a game. That's insane. He's due for a pick every game.
I think the last game was the first time all season.
Yeah, he didn't get a
pick.
pick. Exactly. The last game.
You see what happened? They lost.
You see what? Yeah, exactly. They lost. They had a long day against Denver. The kid is special. I think I hate how we and not you. I'm talking about in general, just aficionados and stuff. They overlook the defensive aspect of football. Aaron Donald is the best player in football, and he's a defensive player. But we don't say nothing because he plays defense. I love defense. I love old school football. I'm seeing the Dallas Cowboys kind of play old school brand of football defensive wise, kind of just hit you in the mouth with Micah Parsons. And then you got your lockdown corner kind of like, it's awesome.
Scary
it's
there.
Scary. Yeah. It's awesome. I'm not even a Cowboys fan, but you have to give respect when respect is due.
For sure.
Diggs is definitely the MVP this year.
Man, there's not a lot of times, especially if you're talking midseason, right? I think you're right. There's not a lot of times where I'll change my answer on something. I will say when I'm wrong. I got no problem with that. I'll say when I'm wrong. But there's not a lot of times I make a pick and then waver off that pick. I'm with you, dude. I had spaced out. And like you said, I got stuck in that quarterback mindset. Give me Diggs as well.
Yep. Hey, I got to take him, man. But, we're cutting it close again.
Yeah.
Let's
get to it.
We've been into his good talks, man, but we're gonna go to break real quick. Next segment, we're going to talk a little college basketball, try to make that quick as well. But we'll be right back right after this.
And welcome back here on Second Down, brought to you by the Uniform Source here on ESPN Radio. PJ Zuko, Cam Ursery here with you. Christian Gokel under the weather today. Hopefully, we'll be right back next, or not next week, tomorrow with us here as Thursday we get set for the weekend, get ready for college football and everything like that. Certainly looking forward to that. But college basketball started last night. Had some big games, some big notable games there last night as well, with Kansas and Michigan State facing off. You have Kansas getting the win there, 87-74. Michigan State starts off unranked, and Kansas, obviously, most of these teams had a tough season. We'll bring that up here in a second, but last year, Kansas, number 3 in the nation, they get the win there last night. And then number 9 and number 10 matchup, Duke and Kentucky. And also Mike Krzyzewski's last year as the Duke head coach. And they start off with a win there, 79-71 against Kentucky. And both those teams, of course, you have these, big highlight games, whatnot, unless there's a huge blowout. Most of the time they both look pretty good. That was a barn burner last night as Duke came home with a win by 79-71, but still came down to the wire. And Duke has some ballers out there again, man. They're looking pretty good as you got Trevor Keels, 25 points, Paulo Banchero, 22 points. They look like a pretty well-rounded team there last night.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good effort from both teams. I love what Kentucky looked like. Not going to take nothing from them. For sure. Schwebre, he had 17 points, 19 rebounds. The Wheeler, the point guard for Kentucky, transfer from Georgia, had 16 and 10. Yeah. So he looked well, but those two dudes, Trevor Keels and Paulo Banchero, those are going to be lottery picks in the NBA draft. Banchero is probably going to be the number 1 overall pick. They look good. I was shocked of how good Keels looked. Not really Banchero, because saw him in high school. Kids has got all the tools. He looks like an NBA player already in college. He just has to follow the rules. But yeah, I mean, Duke, they're impressive. And last night I tweeted out, I'm like, how are these teams 9 and 10? I would love to see 1 through 8 and see how good those teams are. I would love to see that, because that was a good game last night. As far as Kansas and Michigan State, they're gonna have a tough season this year. Yeah. I mean, it's still Izzo, so you have to respect Izzo. They're gonna have a tough season, but Kansas, they have a kid at Kansas that's really good. He had 29 points last night, just dunking the ball and shooting the ball, and they're number 3 in the country. Did they look better than Kentucky or Duke? I don't think so, but that's left to be said.
Yeah, we'll have to see how all those rankings work out. Of course, you got the whole regular season to figure it out. But like you said, Duke and Kentucky looking really impressive. I like the way Duke look too. If you just look at the makeup of their team, you have the freshmen there and balling out with Keels, Banchero, 22-25. You have Wendell Moore, though, down the stretch, too, making plays, made in that number 0 jersey, right? He had 12 points overall, but big plays down the stretch there from his guard spot, and that junior leadership as well. You don't see that a lot nowadays with guys staying back, but I think the combination, when you have the combination of a experienced team with good leadership and those star freshmen, I think that's really when it starts to click. And Mark Williams as well, 3 big blocks there in the game last night, 1 in the final minutes as kind of that athletic center for Duke. So kind of, to me, you look at that starting 5 and what they played with down the stretch, a really well-rounded 1 to 5 type of team, not one guy who's just going to blow you, but I think Duke looked really well-rounded, and looking forward to see how they move forward in the year. And I think that's notable, too. You said Michigan State could have a tough season. Let's remember where we are here in college basketball. I think one of the coolest things is seeing last night completely packed out, the fans back and the energy. I think we're kind of desensitized to that because we've seen it with college football so much this year. But think about where we were last year in half-packed stadiums, if even that. And being able to see that last night was fantastic for the game of college basketball. And also, look at those 4 teams. Last year, Kansas 21-9, Duke 13-11, Michigan State 15-13, and Kentucky 9-16. It's
gonna be a totally different year this year, though.
Can these blue bloods get the chemistry back together and turn that corner?
It's gonna be a totally different year this year. Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, last year with COVID, I didn't watch a lot of college basketball last year. I love seeing the fans, particularly in college basketball. I think those veteran teams last year were able to kind of take advantage of that because those young kids could not feed off the fans and the energy in the arenas. But I think this year, this is where you're going to see some of those. Kentucky, they're fairly old too. This is the oldest team Calipari's ever had, and they still have freshmen on that team. Yeah. Duke, they still have 2, what my main man Dick Vitale would say, diaper dandies on that team. they would still have guys like that, but they have veteran leadership, like you said earlier. This would be the team. This would be the year where the one and done teams, they come back into play and they hold that crown at the end of the year. But yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm pumped as well. Can't wait to see some more college basketball as the year goes on. Obviously, with we're already basically halfway through November, so it'll start to turn up, and we'll be in March Madness before we know it. But we'll come back. Got to wrap it all up here before 3 and Out here on Second Down. Brought to you by the Uniform Source. And welcome back, Uniform Source here on ESPN Radio, all presented by the Uniform Source. Second down, excuse me. I got them backwards there, but second down presented by the Uniform Source. We got to get set for 3 and out here. So, I mean, that's kind of what's been on my mind. So looking forward to that for sure. Christian Gokel out today, just down in the weather. Hopefully he'll be back here with us tomorrow. But Cam, me going over these college football playoff rankings, we'll see if all this works itself out moving forward. That's what they keep telling us, man. But hey, we'll see. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, right around the corner with 3 and out right after this.